Hello and welcome to this video on government and multinational companies. So in this video we're going to look at the relationship between governments and MNCs, focusing on FDI, how a government can control the activities of a multinational company, and then some limitations to those approaches. So a quick reminder what we mean by a multinational company. This is a business that operates substantial facilities, produces and sells in more than one country, and doesn't consider a particular country its home. And we have some examples here. We've previously looked at some of the advantages of being a multinational company. And we looked at some of the disadvantages of being a multinational company. Now we're going to look at from the government's perspective. And one of the main reasons governments want to attract multinational companies is because of the benefits of FDI, foreign direct investment. And this is investment from one country into another, normally done by a transnational or multinational company. And it involves establishing operations, so physically building something in a country or setting up a branch in a country, or maybe acquiring assets, so for example, taking stakes in other businesses. For examples, recently in the UK, Chinese businesses have been investing in traditional British brands like Weetabix, and also a British company, Jaguar Land Rover, has been doing foreign direct investment in China by opening a new factory. Most foreign direct investment is horizontal in that it takes place at the same stage of the production process. When we look around the world, we see significant increases in FDI over the past 20 years, and so trying to attract this investment has become quite a key focus for many governments. When we talk about FDI, we normally talk about two types. Inward, in which a foreign company decides to build or invest in the country we're talking about, and outward, which is when a business in our country looks to invest in a foreign country. So inward FDI, some examples recently from the UK's perspective. This is a Siemens, a German company, setting up a wind turbine factory in Hull in the northeast of the UK. A Japanese company also recently took a significant stake in the computer microchip manufacturing firm Arm Holdings in Cambridge. Some examples of outward FDI: JCB opening a factory in Brazil, and Vodafone investing heavily in Spain's telecoms company Ono. So when we're looking at inward investment into the UK, these are where most companies that are investing in the UK are based. So the majority coming from the United States, and we can see that they provide a lot of jobs. So jobs is one of the benefits of FDI, higher output and jobs, creating more economic growth. Also, this capital is more long-term. If you build a factory, you can't suddenly just leave. So it's maybe preferable to a government than short-term inflows, for example, just lending money. Our domestic country can benefit from improved knowledge and expertise of the foreign multinational, and this could lead to higher wages, improved working conditions, and so on, as long as the company is serious about their CSR. So how can we attract foreign direct investment as a company? Well, we can maybe provide favourable regulations for that particular industry. We can offer them lower tax rates, perhaps tax breaks, if we're wishing to attract a certain type of multinational company. We can make sure that intellectual property law and contract law is enforced, so they're confident about the political and legal environment. We can make sure that our labour market is skilled. We can make sure that it's affordable, and we can try and make sure that it's flexible, making it easy for businesses to recruit. We can provide infrastructure that attracts MNCs. We can try and increase the potential customer base by having pro-consumer policies. We could try and offer opportunities for external economies of scale by trying to develop support services and support industries, supplier industries in our country. But what might be the costs of FDI? Well, we're maybe giving the transnational, multinational company quite powerful rights within our country, quite a big say in our country. They'll have significant influence and financial clout over our rules and regulations. Often transnational companies, multinational companies have been criticised for poor working conditions they provide. This is something we have to be wary about as a government. And we may not see much benefit in tax revenue due to transfer pricing. So what can we do to control perhaps some of the negatives associated with MNCs basing themselves in our country? Well, we can maybe have local content requirements which state that a multinational company must source its supplies, or a significant proportion of its supplies, from our domestic suppliers, and also use domestic local workers. We can say that a certain amount of output must be exported to try and reduce competition with our domestic companies. We can maybe require them having to partner with a local company or entering into joint ventures. We could try and regulate transfer pricing through agreements with other governments. We could make sure we monitor and enforce regulations about working conditions. Having said all that, a lot of multinational companies are what we consider footloose, and they will try and lobby governments to ensure that any controls are not too rigorous under the threat that they might move to another country. There are some international agreements under World Trade Organization rules that prevent us from using things like local content requirements or regulations about exporting. And lastly, transfer pricing is quite difficult to prevent for less powerful governments and countries. So in this video, we've looked at the role of government and multinational companies, the roles that governments might use to control multinational company activities, and some limits to those controls. That's it. Thanks very much for listening.